Hey everybody, how's it going? We are back and we're joined by none other than Scott the Waz to talk about what just happened, the Game Awards. So and
I'm
Scott definitely
exhausted.
has some
That was,
thoughts.
Yeah, he
I'm
does.
exhausted. That was 3 hours. I was sitting on a couch and just it felt like an endurance round. This felt like it
Right.
felt like an E3 press conference that would never end. That's, that's
Press
how it was.
I
It felt like
you're
8
years in or something. I don't even know how many now.
Yeah. Oh
7,
man,
6?
that
I
was
don't know.
that was a lot.
Yeah.
That was a lot. I mean, I think the Game Awards is respectable in the sense that it's just like, oh, like they're I feel like this is I believe like last year what they had like 46 million viewers across the world and whatnot. That's a lot. That's impressive. I think I don't know. I can't recall how many people watch like the Oscars and Emmys and Grammys and whatnot. That seems comparable or even a lot more than a lot of those other award shows. And I think that's super commendable. I feel like I just felt like this one was so it exhausted me. I don't know why. If you guys want to talk about your opinions before I get into
I
my
think
thoughts.
No, that's a fair assessment.
personally, I think
Yeah.
the pre-show was good. Then, of course, we got the Smash announcement, which was excellent. And then I think it carried on for a good solid 30 minutes or so after that and kept my interest. And then it just sort of like I started just dragging. We just didn't pay attention, I noticed, as we were going on, and we just didn't care.
Yeah, the first half of the show for me was a lot more interesting than the second half. And that's not just because of Sephiroth and Smash, which to be fair is pretty fucking huge. But in general, I just kind of lost. Kind of like you, Derek, about 30 minutes after Sephiroth's reveal, I just was like, you know what? Kind of starting to lose a little energy, a little steam here. There was nothing that really super appealed to me. And there were a few announcements still dotted here and there that I was like, oh, this is super cool. But overall, I would say the first half of the show was stronger for me.
Yeah, I liked the pre-show. I'm with Derek. The pre-show was really good.
Agreed.
Kept a good pace to it. The reveals were interesting because they were games I'd never even heard of before and were universally interesting. Like to look at the Smash reveal was super cool, but I started to just like feel myself aging as the show went on. I'm like I might actually pass away before this is over. I'm not like sure if I'm going to hang on. They always screw up the pacing in these. I feel like the second half of these always are real tough to get
I
through.
agree.
And you start just hoping it'll be over. And I mean, there were games, there were awards, so clearly
Well,
the Game Awards met its goal.
I feel like it's this weird thing where like there's so many new there's so many like trailers and advertisements and world premieres. Just there were like 30-minute chunks where there was nothing but that. And like I understand that's why everybody watches these things. If there weren't new announcements, I would not watch the Game Awards live. I would probably read an article about it the like afterwards being like, "Oh, who won? Okay, there you go." But it's also like so many of these announcements just weren't and obviously like they weren't super interesting to me. There were like obviously games that caught my eye and there were announcements that were interesting, but like there's like always it felt like an Xbox press conference. Where Xbox always has their press conferences where it just kind of feels like they just get the little table scraps of what they can reveal that Sony and Nintendo already revealed, and they just have a string of them where it's just like, okay, this is okay, but it's just not like it's not that crazy. It's kind of like I feel like because the Game Awards tries to be like so appealing to like everybody in the gaming sphere, which is cool. But it also makes it so then I think everybody's going to watch the show over the 3 hours and it's not going to engage anybody for a long period of time because it's so like they're trying to appeal to everybody with stuff with like new announcements and all that kind of stuff where there's like games where I'm like I don't care about that. I don't know what that is, but there's a bunch of people that do. And that's fair. But, I think stuff like Sony and Nintendo to do like the Xbox press conference analogy, they're much more like laser focused on a specific kind of audience. And then Xbox, whenever I see their press conferences, they try to go for everything. They try to go for everybody and everything. And that's kind of what the Game Awards kind of feels like. And I feel like that just kind of makes it exhausting for everybody to experience because like there's going to be so many games that you're kind of like, I wish I could find this interesting, but it's just not my thing. And because, it's so broad, they go so broad with the announcements.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, let me ask you this, Scott. Was there anything that surprised you that like stood out to you that you thought like something you didn't think you'd like that you ended up liking, or did everything kind of ride your expectations? Like
Forza cross Cyberpunk 2077. I'm just looking through the thing right now. Let's see. Open Roads looked pretty. That was Annapurna Interactive. They did Gone Home. That looked pretty. I remember I played Gone Home.
Great.
Yeah, I played Gone Home. That isn't an especially pretty looking game, but this looked pretty. Let's see. It's made by Fulbright. And Fulbright did Gone Home too, right?
I think so. Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
That was a good looking game. Dragon Age 4, like, okay, they keep just showing CGI garbage of EA keeps showing like CGI garbage from BioWare games without actually showing like anything about them. Like they have Dragon Age and then they have Mass Effect, and I'm like, okay, it's cool to hear that they're making actual games, but it's also like there's nothing to show. And I think we already kind of knew a new Mass Effect was happening, and we already knew Dragon Age 4 was happening. So it's just like, okay, let's see. Looking through, I mean, obviously the Smash Brothers announcement. That's obviously we can probably talk about that for a good 4 hours.
Easily,
right?
Yeah. Easily. I don't think I very few people predicted Sephiroth, I think.
Yeah. Seriously.
The Ghosts and Goblins game looked pretty cute. Where it's like, oh yeah, that's cool to see back. Is that a remake or is that a fully new?
I think it's I think it's a remake from the best I can tell, but I'm not sure about the art style. That art style looks a little.
I mean, as a cheap little thing, I'm like, yeah, all right. It's weird. Like, it's weird that Capcom keeps Ghosts and Goblins is always there, even though they don't do anything with it. Like whenever it was on NES Classic, it's on NES Online. It's always in compilations. It's always there, but and it always kind of comes back in this resurrection form. I remember the PSP remake of it. And Arthur was in Marvel vs. Capcom, and stuff like that. But they always it's always around, so it didn't really feel like, oh man, it's finally back. But it's also like I thought that was kind of cool. The art style was a little funky, of course, but as a cheap little downloadable title. Yeah.
This is going to sound super mean, but it looked like Mega Man 11 without the budget to me. It looked like
that's fair.
Mega Man 11.
That's fair. Some instances of it looked okay though. Like some parts of the art style looked okay. I thought Arthur's movement looked a little funky, but it was obviously trying to kind of mimic the original NES sprite movement, which was janky itself, but it's trying to translate that. It's kind of Mega Man's walk cycle in Mega Man 11 always kind of looked a little strange to me too.
I agree.
Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Where it looked like his walk animation was faster than how he was moving or something like that. It was a little
jump through boss gates. You could not jump through boss gates.
Yeah, that was
horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. As Fisto brings up, it'd actually be kind of cool. They did a kind of remake of Maximo, which was sort of like the 3D reimagining of what Ghosts and Goblins was. I don't know.
I agree with that. I really liked what I saw in this trailer. Like Scott said, I'm imagining this as like a budget game, like a cheap little quick game. It's only coming on Switch, which I hate to say, but it's like developers love to be like, oh, hey, we made this cheap little port. Let's try this out on Switch and see if it does well. And I get it. I mean, because I'm definitely a perfect test case for that. Like if I see a game available on all platforms, I'll usually grab it on Switch just because I'm like, oh, you never know when I'm going to be in the car and want to play this.
Especially a Ghosts and Goblins game. I'm not going to buy that on PS4. It's but there was also at the beginning there was I assume it's pronounced Chia or it's Chia.
Yeah, Chia.
I think
that looked really nice in terms of art style. I don't necessarily remember if there was any gameplay shown or any
possessing animals.
Yeah, it had like a weird
thing.
That looked pretty. That looked pretty. I was just like, yeah, I'm cool with that. Other than that, I mean, like everything, like it was like, okay, this is all fine. Nothing. Arc 2 was stupid. That was pretty dumb.
Oh, you mean Vin Diesel's head on a random body?
Yeah. And then after that, there was Arc the animated series. It was a big Arc night. It was a big night for Arc.
You know what was legit hype though is Swedish Chef coming to Overcooked. That was a legit.
That makes sense to crossover.
Like perfectly on brand crossover DLC. That was great.
Yeah, that's true.
The Muppets have always been in the Game Awards. I don't understand it. I'm not opposed to it, but they're always there.
It's something.
Finally
but
paid
now
off.
they had a reason. They had a full-on reason to be here because they had an announcement.
I wonder if Keeley just called Team 17 and he's like, "Hey, look, I'm gonna do a Muppet thing again, so you guys need to like put him in a game. I need a reason. People are starting to suspect."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, and of course, Perfect Dark. That was really good. Yeah, that was. They should have saved that for the end. That would have been an awesome end reveal, though. Mm. That would have been like, oh my god! Except I think there have been rumors floating around that the Microsoft studio, the initiative, was working on a Perfect Dark kind of game or something in Perfect Dark or something like that. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be Perfect Dark. But it was really cool to see that again. I'm really happy that Microsoft is actually giving rare IPs to studios that can do them or something, because like they, Battletoads, I mean, that was kind of mixed, but at least like if Rare wasn't going to make a new Battletoads, then that other studio could have done it. And the same with like Killer Instinct and stuff like that. Yeah. I think that gives hope for other Rare IPs where it's just like, okay, Rare doesn't have to make them specifically. But that's really cool because it looked like there was like a huge budget behind it. And whatnot. And I feel like kind of recognizable franchises is what the Xbox needs. I don't know if Perfect Dark is recognizable in 2020 though to most people.
That then, other than a few buildings apparent that I know Ash and Steve recognize, because I haven't played Perfect Dark myself, I don't know how much of this actually feels like Perfect Dark. But I guess it's cool to have Joanna Dark back, and I guess have a reboot to try to reestablish her. I don't know.
I just wish we'd seen some gameplay. Like it was all CG. I just would have loved.
That's Microsoft's biggest problem.
When it looks like
huge issue with Microsoft. That brings war flashbacks to like the Xbox event from like August, July, something like that, where it was literally like they ended on Fable, and it was kind of the same deal. Where it's just like, this was a better teaser than Fable though. Because this I was just like,
I'm super happy for Perfect Dark fans. I just hope that this maybe perhaps potentially, meaning possibly and potentially, leads to a Banjo-Kazooie style reboot of the same or sequel, whatever. But just seeing Perfect Dark, a legacy Rare series be reimagined with current gen tech. Hell yeah.
Yeah, we got Banjo and CGI during the Game Awards.
Yeah, that was
cool.
It
was so cool to see that in Sephiroth's trailer.
Yeah, seeing that DLC.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They focused. I mean, what? How many DLC characters? They showed Hero.
They showed Hero.
They showed the Erdrick version of Hero. They were going. They were going.
They were appealing to those Japanese players.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Do we want to talk about that? Because then that would be like that's the main thing you can talk about for announcements.
I mean,
I know you're not an RPG guy, but the Nier Replicant gameplay, I gotta say that did sell me on the game, because that looks, that gameplay looks way better than the original.
I'm excited for Nier Replicant.
I'd like to try.
It seems like it takes all the best bits of Automata and transplants them into Replicant.
How different is Nier Replicant to the original Nier? Because I know there was Nier Replicant, and then there's the original Nier. Is Nier Replicant kind of like, let's say, like the Persona 5 Royal to Persona 5 of the original Nier or something like that?
The big difference with Nier is that the Nier in Japan and the States had different designs for the main character. In the States, he is designed to be older and had a father-daughter relationship with the main girl, one of the main girls. And in Japan, it was a younger man and brother-sister relationship, and they're going with that design for Replicant. It's basically it's a remake.
Okay, I would say P5R probably isn't the best allegory, though. P5R is an expanded version of the same game it spawned from. Nier Replicant is more, I would say, a full from the ground up remake.
Yeah, better looking, and that combat is way better than anything you'd see in the original Nier.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't Nier Replicant? Wasn't Nier Replicant released originally on like PS3 or something?
Yeah.
Okay,
PS3.
so but the original Nier was also that. So is this just a remake of Nier Replicant, or was Nier Replicant on PS3 an expanded version of that original Nier? I'm confused. I'm sorry. So like, what was Nier Replicant on PS3 then?
It was on PS3. I think it was just Nier.
I think we only got just Nier in the US or in the West, but in Japan there was Nier Replicant and Nier Gestalt, And
Right.
Nier Replicant, the one we're seeing now, is I think, a from the ground up remake of the original Nier Replicant. I think that's how that works. Anybody in the chat who is a Nier scholar, feel free.
Hey, it's Dingo is saying it's console exclusives, but I have Nier on my PS3, and they're saying like it was Replicant was on PS3. Trust me, that was old man Nier, not young man Nier. So.
Yeah, they're saying, so I pulled up a fandom wiki about this because that's where you get the most accurate info on everything.
Really, it is.
It says,
of course.
Replicant is based in the same world as Gestalt, but differs in the lead character's design, relationship with the character of Yona, and the time in which the game takes place. And our Replicant continues off the 5th ending from the game Drakengard.
Yes.
So,
and do we have any reason why it is version 1.2247487139 ...
Because it's
I never understood that.
Taro.
Okay,
that's Yoko Taro.
Fair. You know, there's what was the Kingdom Hearts game on that? 358 over 2 days.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I love Square. They're so silly.
Right? Gotta love Square's naming schema. Yeah.
So
you gotta enjoy it, but yeah. So, did you play Left 4 Dead back in the day? Because they got that Back 4 Blood.
Yeah, I personally have not, but there is it was that was announced a while ago, was it?
Was it?
And
I hadn't heard about
the first time.
Yeah,
this was like the first time we saw gameplay or saw like a cinematic or something like that.
Yeah, I had. My memory got jogged while we were watching that they had shown this off, because the whole time we were watching that trailer, I was like, I've seen something of this before. Like, these character designs are familiar, and when the logo came up, I was like, oh yeah, I've at least seen this logo. Like, I know that they've shown this off. What was it? Back 4 Blood, I believe.
Yeah, Back 4 Blood.
Back 4 Blood. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've seen that for sure, and I remember thinking, oh, they're doing like the Mighty Number 9 thing with Left 4 Dead. So
yes,
pretty much.
Yeah, it was exactly what I
did play Mighty Number 9 recently. It's not good, but it wasn't as bad as I remember it being. I was like,
really?
That's fair.
I just get I mean, like, I don't really me. I still think it's It's just it's not great, but
you know,
it's not the worst thing ever.
I can manage.
Yeah.
Real quick, I have to go off on a small tangent, Scott. Just because this morning, one of our patrons found out that you were going to be on the show tonight, and no joke, they went out and bought themselves a copy of Wii Chess to celebrate being on the show.
It's up there. It's somewhere up there.
Really quick,
weird game.
We got Alan Wilkinson with a £2 donation saying Sephiroth equals no Sora and FP2. I hope not. Sora is still my most wanted, but I definitely think this makes Sora's chances a little slimmer.
Can we get down to the meat here? Yeah. Can we get down to the meat?
Yeah, because
I was about to
there's really not a lot else to say about other stuff.
You know,
I mean, I can go on, but this is the big one though.
But Scott, Super Meat Boy Forever is finally releasing on December 23rd.
Wasn't that originally a mobile game? Wasn't that originally supposed to be a mobile game? And then they were like, oh, great.
It's like 3 years ago, yes.
3 years ago, yes. And then the original came out 10 years ago. And I'm like, okay, well, you kind of missed the boat on that one, but I'll take it. I like Meat Boy. I'm not excited about Super Meat Boy Forever, but I like Meat Boy. If that's on sale, I'll probably get it. But it's I'm not chomping at the bit. No, but okay. So what did you guys think of the Smash Brothers reveal?
I didn't predict it. Shit.
I didn't predict it. I'm so glad that Sephiroth didn't leak like Cloud. I'm so glad that nobody leaked this.
I don't even remember Cloud leaking.
No, he didn't. He means like Cloud. He didn't leak. Okay.
That's what I mean.
Oh well, I remember.
He didn't
It was super lame because like when Cloud was revealed in that November 2015 direct, it was like one of those things where I had to catch the direct afterwards. So I was watching when the YouTube video went up, and I think like I randomly just decided to I accidentally scrolled down a second, and my eye just caught like a glimpse of like one of the comments or like the description that said like, oh, Cloud storms at the battle. And that was before I even saw it, and I was just like, what the hell? How does what?
Oh man,
what?
That's rough.
This wasn't as big of a what, but it's I don't actually know. This might have been a bigger what. Because like now that Cloud's in the game, I was like, this is the first third-party series that got a second character that isn't an Echo Fighter, and I never expected to be Final Fantasy out of all of them, because Final Fantasy got the short end of the stick. But that makes it kind of cool that it's the first one to get it because it's so underrepresented. But also, what the hell?
Hopefully we get more songs this time.
Yeah,
I guarantee you. I feel like
collection of music. Please.
I feel like Sakurai almost picked Sephiroth just for the fact that he's just like, we need to get more music in here.
Yeah.
Let's do another FF7 character just to get it in. I'm not upset. I just think there are more Square characters that could have been chosen in terms of let's represent other series that aren't represented, even though Final Fantasy, isn't represented well at all in Smash Brothers. I just feel like obviously, like Gino is not even close to being as like iconic or like whatever, or as technically deserving as Sephiroth is. And even Sora is like more iconic and more deserving. I don't know.
Who knows about the
Sora is up there. I don't know if he's Sephiroth iconic, but Sora is way up there.
But at least that would be a new series for them to represent. Or even something like Chrono. Chrono, or just or another Final Fantasy character from something other than Final Fantasy VII. I think I would have preferred to see that, but I'm not unhappy with this. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it was a little weird. I'm like, it's a funny Fighters Pass 2 to look at so far. You got Min, Steve, and then Sephiroth.
It's really weird.
Funny line.
I know. It's a weird one. I'm seeing a lot of like people saying Vivi from Final Fantasy 9. Some people wanted 2B from Nier. So
Terra would have been a good one.
Yuna.
FF6. Yeah. Yuna. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that Sephiroth is iconic. He's one of the most iconic villains in gaming, and much like Cloud, I think he deserves to be here. But Scott, I totally hear you. I mean, as you've heard, my number one most wanted right now is Sora. I don't know if he's still possible. We'll see.
Good luck.
But I do think it would have been nice to see another series represented, or a different Final Fantasy.
It's something where, like, obviously, Sephiroth's inclusion here breaks a couple of rules we thought were there, even though like not really rules, but it's also like nobody was expecting Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, of course. But it's also like, I think that at least shows that it's just like nobody expected that. I remember people bringing up Sephiroth as like a potential Echo Fighter for Cloud, which wouldn't have worked really. But like I just remember he was in the discussion when people would be like, oh man, let's make up an Echo Fighter for every character, and they'd be like, oh well, Cloud, maybe you can do Sephiroth or something like that. But I just feel like, I feel like Sephiroth's inclusion kind of makes it so then like we already kind of feel like, oh, only one third party rep per fighter pass. I think we kind of feel like, oh, I don't think we're going to get another Microsoft character this fighters pass. I don't think we're going to get another Square Enix character. But nobody was thinking Sephiroth was going to be in this at all. So it's just like, I don't think it's out of the question for another Square Enix character to be represented. I just feel like it's more unlikely now.
Yes.
What's cool,
solid spank with a $5 donation, by the way. Going off what Scott said about having a franchise having a second rep that isn't an Echo, I hope that means we can have another Sonic rep long overdue.
That's the weird thing. You would think
I was actually about
to
say that.
Sonic rep by now.
Yeah.
It would have been so easy for them to do Shadow, but they didn't.
Shadow, Echo at the very least. I think Eggman could be a very interesting fighter.
That's the thing, is like this may open the door. This may open the door to characters who aren't just Shadow as an Echo of Sonic. I mean, hell, I would be so down to see Tails or Eggman in Smash. I think that would be so cool. So this does open the door potentially to something like that. Who knows?
And it's also also like this is like the first. This is the first character. So I think this is the first character from a series that only had one rep before, where the second rep included is a villain. Because it's always like they have the one rep and then they have the second rep, and the second rep is usually the secondary protagonist. You have Mario, then Luigi, and then you have like Link and then Zelda. And then you have like Kirby, and then like Meta Knight is kind of they're all friends and enemies. It's whatever. But this is like you go Cloud and then immediately Sephiroth. So it's like I said, it does break some like rules that we kind of always weren't there, but it's always like we were like, oh, this is a pattern. So I think regardless of anybody's opinion of it, it's probably one of the most interesting ones because it's like the most out of left field. Like, I think everybody at least expected Steve, like, as in, like, oh, yeah, that just makes sense. Or, like, an ARMS character, that just makes sense. Of course, the timing of those were completely out of left field. But this, I don't think anybody was like, oh, yeah, that's going to happen, I think that's the most interesting part of it, personally.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
funny. Like, I feel like, prior to Sephiroth, I felt like Rex and or Pyra were a lock because, we got Min Min from ARMS, and Xenoblade 2 was famously the other game besides ARMS that didn't come out at the right time to make it into Smash Ultimate's base roster, right? So I assume Rex and Pyra are a shoo-in. But at the same time, and I still feel like they kind of are, but if you go from Sephiroth to Rex and Pyra, it's like...
Yeah, it's a little up for debate. I mean, it maybe is that like that disappointing Fighter 6 for most people. I'd be excited, but have that Fire Emblem character as to end it off with.
Are we going to get another Final Fantasy VII stage then?
Yeah, we are.
That's interesting.
It's the Northern Crater. They've already shown it off.
Okay. It's just again another like all right.
I mean, have you seen his old costumes yet, Scott?
Yeah.
They're not too interesting, other than the fact that one of them is apparently just him shirtless.
Yeah,
you gotta have that. That's the iconic
cheesecake
extra final battle from the original. So
yeah. So it's just it's interesting. So what do you guys expect for the future of the DLC then?
Oh man,
it does kind of throw things off, doesn't it?
Well, obviously this is for Square Enix to promote Remake. It's in the same year, and Remake was huge, and it came out, and they announced it during a Game Awards where Remake was up for many awards. So obviously, I feel like a lot of this will be marketing focused, because I feel like there's going to be an ARMS 2. I wouldn't be surprised if an ARMS 2 came out next year, the year after that, or something like that.
Sure.
And Minecraft is just, it's just a win-win for both companies there. So it's just like, I don't know. I feel like with everybody, I saw a lot of people were like, oh yeah, Jonesy from Fortnite, which I didn't even know that guy had a name.
I didn't either.
Me neither. Yeah.
But I think that would be, I don't think Fortnite's going to be in there just because as big as Fortnite is, Minecraft at least had that legacy of being like, it's been out for like 10 years. And like, I feel like even though like people are still kind of like, oh, it's just, it's more of a fad or something like that. It's been around for 10 years. Like ARMS has only been around for 3. Persona 5 has only been around for 3, and Minecraft is the biggest game of all time. Fortnite is free. I don't like it. It doesn't. You don't get as passionate. You don't get as attached. Like Minecraft, you have to buy. So it's just like I feel like there's more of like an attachment with that. And Fortnite, everybody can download for free, and like the characters aren't really characters and stuff like that.
Right.
And like who knows? It's so new. It's been out for 2 years. Since it's free, it might fade out like within the next couple years. I think like adding a character to Smash Brothers right now would be a bit premature. At least like maybe till the next game. It's whatever. I wouldn't be upset about it, but I just feel like it would be a little premature.
Zero Vits brings up the point is like Joker doesn't have that legacy, to be fair. The thing is, Persona has a massive legacy. He is the most popular character from that legacy. Yeah. He's also a Japanese company. And that's the big difference here is pulling from those American companies, which is a bit more.
I also agree with Scott, though, that a lot of these character choices seem marketing driven. Like,
it's about because they were chosen by Nintendo.
Yeah. Or they want to just get friendly with those companies, like as in like Atlas wasn't doing anything for Nintendo because of Joker. Like if you would have thought Persona 5 would have come over, or at least like Persona 5 Golden or something like that, or whatever. But it's just like I almost feel like and we're getting strikers, but I almost feel like it was just so then Nintendo could be like, hey, Atlas, maybe you should consider us as a viable, like maybe you should always bring your games to our platform because one of your most iconic characters right now is in Smash Brothers, so it'll do well on the Switch or something like that. I feel like getting companies in on Smash Brothers for Nintendo is more, it kind of acts as an incentive for those companies to bring their games to their platforms.
Sure.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%.
Cloudberry Cloudberry, after my own heart here in the chat, would be nice if the Turtles, as in the Ninja Turtles, join Smash 2.
Yeah, that's not
they
happening.
Don't qualify because they're not video game characters originally, but I would be so hyped.
Yeah, I was about to say.
All right, I did for a fraction of a second during Sephiroth's reveal trailer. I did think it was Goku. Because it was like, I saw there was a ball, and I was like, I don't know anything about Dragon Ball, but I do know what a Dragon Ball looks like. And I was like, well, that's a Dragon Ball.
Well, when they cut the Galeem in half, I'm like, what? Okay, what character is powerful enough to do that? Like, I'm trying to think, what is who's known for that?
Derek,
and then Sephiroth shows up, like, oh.
And that's what hurts. It's like I actually thought there was a chance it was Sora until we saw Sephiroth. I thought. I
mean,
possibly,
Sora did cut a skyscraper in half in Kingdom Hearts 2, so there's that.
No, when they cut it,
maybe there was a chance.
When Galeem got cut in half, I was like, who's powerful enough to do that? And I thought Crash. And he didn't show up.
Can you imagine?
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Appeared instead of Sephiroth.
He has to show up. He has to show up. He's like, I don't know. He's like the last big like mascot character. He has to, but
I think Crash has a good shot. I think there's enough demand out there. It is good to have that sort of combination with him. There's still that possibility. I think he has a good shot. I think another Xenoblade rep has a good shot. That third one, I have no idea that one from who's left. But Gerard Zimmer wants to talk about the fact that we had the Mario death fake out during the Sephiroth trailer.
Oh yeah,
that's fair. That's happened multiple times in Smash Ultimate trailers, as in 2 specifically, I think.
Ridley and Luigi.
How can they show that? How can they be allowed to show that? And then, of course, it's very clever the way they are allowed to show it. But I really thought Sephiroth had impaled him, and that was the second time Mario got impaled. Ridley did it first.
Yeah,
I thought Mega Man was the one who got impaled, not Mario.
Oh, they both did.
Oh, Mario just got what is it? Just I don't know. Just like I don't know. He got crammed in the face or whatever it was.
Yeah, he got Ridleyed.
Yeah. But overall, that was a pleasant surprise. I was happy about that. And then we talked about Perfect Dark. What else was there though?
Do you care about Oddworld?
What else stuck out to you? I mean, but I already know about Oddworld. Was it a release date they revealed for that? I'm sorry, that was near the end.
It's coming spring 2021. You got.
I already kind of assumed that.
We're getting a demo for Monster Hunter Rise. We got to look at the new map in Among Us.
The Evil Dead game looked cool.
For me,
the Evil Dead game looks good.
Mm-hmm.
For me, there was what we closed out the Game Awards on, which is the teaser trailer for the new Mass Effect, which may or may not have shown Liara Tassoni as part of the cast. I don't know if that's actually her or just an unrelated Asari. But I personally am a huge Mass Effect fan, so getting a glimpse at the future of the series was a pretty big deal for me.
It is a good title of Mass Effect will continue. So I will give you that.
Yeah. Good. Right. I mean, all I say is good luck after.
I actively cracked up at that. That was a bit silly. It's cool. It's cool that they're giving it another shot after Andromeda, just because that turned out so poorly. But BioWare has just been announcing so much stuff. I feel like they're frantically announcing stuff because they're worried about the future of the studio, considering that just their last couple games have just not done well. And it just kind of feels like, so they're working on fixing Anthem, and then they have Dragon Age, and then Mass Effect, and all that. And I'm just worried that a lot of this stuff, they're just are kind of empty announcements so far. Because like Dragon Age, we've known about since like 2018. Like it was announced at Game Awards 2018 or something like that. So it's they're juggling a lot right now. So I'm a little worried about that. But it is cool that they are giving it another go. They're keeping it going there. Because obviously it's a beloved series, but it just EA.
Yeah, they have a lot to prove after Andromeda.
One thing that did stand out to me was what seems to be essentially marriage counseling the game, which is It Takes Two.
Oh yeah, that
looked kind of cool. Yeah,
the crazy guy.
Yeah, that looked kind of neat. And my wife, when we were watching, we always watch the Game Awards together, so she was next to me while we were doing the whole stream. And there was one line.
It takes two.
Says, It Takes Two. But there was one line where the female character says, "I just feel stuck." And she was like, "This is so real. This seems like marriage counseling." And that kind of looks interesting to me. I'm not gonna lie. That looks kind of unique.
I'm
there was
intrigued.
there wasn't a ton that looked. I don't think anything actively looked bad. I know a lot of people dunked on the Fast and the Furious game from last year, and like I remember watching that, I was like, that looks fine, I guess, and then everybody was like, that looked terrible, and I was just like, all right, it looks terrible.
Well,
but
we got Vin Diesel back with Arc 2.
Yeah, don't worry, don't
Vin
worry.
Diesel's
They
head
had all
very
these.
clearly.
They had all these celebrities presenting awards who definitely cared about video games and all that. It was great.
Real quick in the chat, Kyle Silva with a Canadian $5 donation asking for our thoughts on Capcom Arcade.
They didn't really talk much about Capcom Arcade. Really. Chat told us more about it than ever.
They said it was free, but it comes with like 1942, and then you probably have to pay for everything separately and whatnot, which is like is fine, but it's also like I would rather just pay one straight up fee personally. That's just me.
So
it's $20 and I get everything, but
this is not.
Which I assume that's how much it will cost. But
this isn't Capcom's first run at a Capcom Arcade game with this exact monetization model either. I had to go back and look. They did this on Xbox 360. And I remember being really confused because I was like, there's Xbox Live Arcade, then there's the Capcom Arcade, and Xbox Live Arcade has Capcom Arcade games in it. But I also could buy this, and I can either earn credits every day to use, or I can pay to earn credit. I remember just noping the hell out of it, and the arcade games ran like crap.
It's an interesting one. I mean, I'm interested in checking it out. I love the old school compilations like that, but I wish they would have done it along just like a standard kind of like how Namco Museum is on Switch or something like that. Just like there you go, $20. Even though it'll probably cost $20 overall for all the games or something, but I'm also like, I'm just that free, and then I have to go in and buy everything. I'm like, I don't know.
Capcom already did this with their fighting game collection or their beat 'em up collection, so just do it again.
It's weird because it almost feels like this kind of pricing structure is meant for like, oh man, we'll get a lot of downloads, and then people would be like, oh well, I really like this game, so I'm gonna buy more. Nobody who actively is like nobody who isn't already interested in old Capcom arcade games is gonna get won over by 1942 just because they could download it for free. It's just like I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a little silly. But
I would prefer to have a bespoke collection. I hear you. Just give me, let me pay $30-$40 for just a bunch of classic Capcom games. I totally agree.
Catrium Flockentans was curious about that Dragon Ride game Century, which kind of looked like Panzer Dragoon, but then I guess it's more of a dogfighting game with dragons.
That looked like Lair, but cool, and I kind of want to see more of it.
Yeah, and then we also got that other game that looked cool, but also the trailer took freaking forever. I think it went on for like 3 or 4 minutes.
Crimson Desert.
That's it.
It took a while to get going.
Did they say afterwards it was like the development studio was based somewhere in like Korea or something like that?
I think I saw somebody in chat mention they might have been from the people who made that Black Desert Online.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it looked good. It looked fine, but it went on for a long time.
Yeah, it really did.
It went on for a while.
Yeah, it was a 5-minute trailer. It feels like it was like 30 minutes.
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I don't know who the audience for the Game Awards is. Who is it? Who do they want?
Gamers.
Apparently not people who love Streets of Rage 4, because as Hey It's Dingo said, Streets of Rage 4 didn't win anything, and that is...
Well, they only got nominated for one thing.
I didn't expect it to, but it's a damn shame.
We have to talk about the thing that nobody else is willing to talk about with the Game Awards. The awards. Obviously.
True.
I forgot about that.
Because they did too.
The Last of Us Part 2 swept most everything.
I feel like that's probably why it was the show kind of dragged for me, because so many categories it just won, and it wasn't surprising. There wasn't really like I think this game might win this, or I think this game might win. No, it was always just Last of Us Part 2.
I'll say this: I'm really happy The Last of Us Part 2 didn't win Best Music, because FF7 Remake won it and absolutely fucking deserved it, and I'm so happy.
Yeah. I love just how it adapts to everything you do, where it makes you feel like you are truly like doing everything here, where it doesn't feel like a scripted thing. It's awesome. I was so into that.
You know, I have to say, Scott, we've had multiple times throughout the last 3 hours a lot of people saying Scott was robbed for Content Creator of the Year.
I don't want to talk about that.
That's
rude.
That's rude.
That's rude. I don't.
That's fair. That's fair.
I respect.
I don't want to be like, it's like I saw on Twitter when
where's my award?
Yeah, I didn't like. I very much appreciated a lot of like people tweeting me and saying like, "Hey, I think you should have been that," and I'm like, "Well, thank you very much," but I didn't want to like or respond to any of them because that would make it be like, damn it, you're right. I hate all these nominees. They didn't deserve to be nominated. They're all hacks. They're all snakes. You know, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate it though. But I don't know. Like, Last of Us 2 pretty. I mean, if we want to talk about content creator of the year, I do think that category should be separated. There should be like a streaming and like just a standard like YouTube kind of thing,
right?
Because like it's almost like you can combine. I think I saw like She-Says tweet about this. It's almost like you combine like movies and TV shows into one category, and it's just like they're very different. It's kind of weird because how do you truly judge it? Just like, well, this one's better than this person's better than this person at that. It's just like they're both doing completely different things. It's kind of weird, especially considering esports has 6 categories and they got them all out of the way in the pre-show.
Yeah,
I'm like, what was the point of 6 categories then? Like, why?
Like, they have all these categories and they don't care about their own awards. It's just it's nice we got some acceptance speeches here. We got gameplay shown for some of the categories, but there's no pomp. There's just no pomp and circumstances with them. It's just like, hey, here they are. Here's the winner. That's what I always hate.
I understand based on the circumstances of like this year and like how they were supposed to do things. I understand it made things more difficult. But the show was still just as long as it was like last year or the year before, and it just kind of felt like it just kind of felt like I was in limbo because like there wasn't an audience, and they put that canned like applause in there and everything. And I'm sorry for cutting you off, Ash, but it was just it just like the awards just like. They were like, all right, best family game. There you go. And then moving on there. And now we got 30 minutes of reveals. And now we got this and that and this. All right. And then moving on that. And it felt like it was dragging out. And at least like with a live venue with this huge audience and stuff, you kind of feel like it's a big moment here. Didn't feel like that as much. And I understand. I'm not going to hold that against them. But, I just think it just dragged on. And they just skipped over so many categories when they could have had this big moment to let developers and the people who made these games have more of a chance to just talk about their games and whatnot, or just have people of the industry present awards. It's cool you got Christopher Nolan to present an award, but what does he have to do with video games? He has nothing to do with video games. Why not have Miyamoto, Kojima, Aonuma, even like Mark Cerny or something present Game of the Year or something like that? It's just like no big.
I said this when we were talking before we started this, but it's games for some reason have this fascination of wanting to be Hollywood. They just want to get that there so much. They want to be as cinematic as that, and so I think just
some games
draw to them so much. Some of them, I mean, when they go to AAA, and of course, it's a, and I think Keeley definitely falls into that category of wanting to. Look at these celebrity friends I got. Look at the celebrities that care about it, and of course, he's going to reward the game that's the most cinematic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I feel like I felt like, I don't know. This is my personal opinion from this year, but my perception. I've never been like a big like starstruck over celebrities guy at all, really. But my perception of like a lot of like big name celebrities this year definitely went down a lot. Like ever since March, you see like all these celebrities having to start working from home, and you just see them having the worst quality camera setup and the worst audio, the worst thing imaginable. Yeah, and it's just like yeah, and it's just like so like you spend your entire life in front of the camera, but you don't know how to actually set up a camera. You don't know how to actually set up a microphone. You don't know what actually sounds good and stuff.
Well, because
like
they have directors to do that for them on set.
Yeah,
directors, producers. Really quick.
And it's just like
Sorry, it's really quick.
Oh,
Hey,
go
it's
on.
A little while ago, Hey, it's Dingo gave us a $5 donation. Thank you so much. And they say the tonal whiplash of the orchestra going from The Last of Us Part 2 to Animal Crossing was wild.
Like
It really was.
I like that.
That was
I like
great.
that.
Those remixes,
Sorry to
none of
cut
those
you off,
remixes
Scott.
were
I
as
just wanted
good as
to
what
get
was
that
in the
read out.
game.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry
Yeah,
to cut you
I
off,
think.
Scott. I just wanted to read that.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Oh, what happened?
The
He
game
froze.
The Game
His
Wars
rage broke
became
the stream.
too much
Yeah.
for Scott. So while we wait for him to come back, hopefully maybe we should let me ping him real. Oh,
Well,
never
there
mind.
we go.
He
There
popped
he's
back to life.
go. He's
he's
back.
let me see. I'm fine, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Jeff
I'm
Keighley
good.
DDoS Scott.
Anyways,
Uh,
I really
Kristen
wanted him in
20
Smash. I was hoping
Yeah.
he was going to be the Smash character.
I want Jeff
Kristen
Keighley's
Amazing.
shoes in
2025.
Smash.
Said
Oh,
what
Jeff
I've
Keighley
been
me
thinking.
costume, please.
Oh,
I would
God.
love that, yeah.
Oh my God, right? Christensen
Hmm.
2025 said what I've been thinking the whole time, which is they did video game music first. First. The disrespect of being thrown in the pre-show, and fuck that. VGM deserved better. It should have been in the show itself.
Especially
I'm
considering they
obviously
have the whole
biased, but-
orchestra and they had so
Yeah.
many like musical performances and stuff.
Yeah.
It's so weird and like
Really weird.
and it's just I don't know. Like but that is one of my favorite parts of the Game Awards each year is how they have like that big finale where all the Game of the Year like soundtracks kind of come together via the orchestra. That's always super well done and that's super awesome. I love that. But yeah, personally, like I said, like my feeling like towards like a lot of like the typical Hollywood celebrities kind of thing has just definitely kind of decreased where I kind of look at them and just see a lot more fakeness than I ever do. And it's just, especially at the Game Awards, I'm just like, you don't care. Why don't you get somebody that cares? Or why
like
don't you
Brie
get somebody
Larson is
that, like,
probably the one that most cares.
yeah. But it's also
Maybe
like
Tom
she was
Holland.
only there for like 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And
Like,
to be clear,
you get a celebrity and she's just there for 15 seconds and okay, then you're gone. What's the point of that?
and it was
Like,
it
it's
was
just like-
very clear that she was using like an iPad or something, like
Uh-huh.
and I mean
she was dressed up though. I think she was dressed up.
she did dress
Yeah.
kind of nice,
She
but
she did actually go forth. Some people didn't dress up, which was funny.
Yeah.
I'm far
so-
from the first person to like trash on another person's setup and how they create content or whatever, but when I know that person is worth many millions of dollars and can afford
That's my thing.
Yeah.
it's like you can
Yeah,
afford
like,
to
that's
just
the
send
thing.
someone in.
You're a billionaire and you can't even like set up your computer right, kind of
Right.
thing. It's just like, come on, man.
Lily
Zero
Haynes
Bits brings
says,
up a good point. Oh, go ahead.
real quick, Lily Haynes says, I think Nolan and John David Washington's appearances were pre-recorded from Tenet promos back in September. It was the exact same outfits and setup from that, which I believe it.
Possibly.
Wait, so Christopher Nolan, when he announced the Game of the Year,
Actually, is that the case? Would he have known that? Would they have said that that far
I don't
back?
see. Yeah, I'm not
maybe
sure if
he
that
re-
Maybe let him
checks out.
say a
recorded
couple
all the
things.
maybe he recorded all the different nominees, but then again, they knew the nominee. When did Hades come out? Hades came out pretty quick.
Just
Yeah.
recently. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
don't know.
Zero Bits brings
That's
up a
weird.
great point in the chat. What the hell was the Mario Orchestra part? It was so short. Nintendo, again pretended that Mario Galaxy 2 never existed. They completely
Yeah.
passed over it in
be
their.
fair,
They jumped
passed
about.
over
They jumped around a bunch of them.
They went from
Yeah.
Super Mario Brothers to Mario 64. So 2, 3, World all got skipped.
Yeah, Sunshine
lot
got
of,
skipped, Galaxy 2
It
got
was still
skipped.
nice. It was
Yeah,
still
it was
nice.
nice.
I liked
Yeah.
it.
One thing that stood out to me that's just completely random that I really appreciated was, as a huge Cobra Kai fan, the fact that they had Ralph Macchio introduce the best fighting game category. I thought that was pretty damn cool.
Yeah,
That was. Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, like what? Like I mean, but what fighting games were nominated again? It
That's
wasn't
the
a
thing,
big.
they
Gear
didn't even go
5.
over what was nominated.
MK11 Ultimate and Fate, whatever, not Fate, Under Night Inverse, EXE, CLR,
The One Punch Man.
Grand
One
Blue,
Punch Man, A Hero Nobody Knows, and then one more, but I
Grand
can't
Blue,
remember.
Fantasy Verse.
Yeah,
Grand
Grand Blue
Blue.
Fantasy.
You know, I was happy to see MK11 win it. They've had a great year, NetherRealm. I love Street Fighter V, but MK11, I can't say it didn't deserve it. So that was cool to see.
Mhm.
I just love I think Mortal Kombat 11 has the best DLC characters of any fighting game ever made. Like, because it feels like Ed Boon is just in his office alone, drunk, and just making these decisions at this point. He's like, yeah, Rambo.
Excuse me. Steve, wait a minute. You over Smash Brothers Ultimate? Wait a minute.
Dude, yes. Are you kidding me?
What? No.
Are you kidding me?
way.
Like,
Mortal
okay, hold
Kombat
on,
doesn't
hold
have
on.
Banjo-Kazooie
I have
and Terry
long,
Bogard.
long been on record of saying that I think funny things are better than serious things, and Mortal Kombat 11's DLC character choices are fucking hilarious. Like,
Sephiroth's pretty funny too.
Yeah,
it's like
no,
that's pretty
that's
funny.
definitely.
That's like what?
I am looking forward to taking the time to go back through my Twitter and seeing people's reactions to Sephiroth being in there, because that has to be a trip.
Yeah,
Right.
it's but in terms of the other awards, like I said, I don't like they had like 6 esports categories and they just glossed over them in the pre-show. I don't even understand why they have those that many categories to begin with if they're just going to gloss over them, because it's just like that just kind of feels like esports is big, obviously. So they obviously want to like bring it into the Game Awards to just kind of be like, hey guys, watch the Game Awards. All your favorite esports people are going to be there. But it's also like you gloss right over them. And also people who care about esports that much, like most of the Game Awards is focused on these story-driven cinematic games, which are not esports. No. So it's this weird disconnect where it's just like maybe like 2 esports categories, but like 6, like that. I think that's way more than last year, and they just gloss right over them. So I'm just like, what was the point of that?
Well,
Michael Kajeeling brings up a good point with donation of $10 Canadian. Says, I can't be the only one to feel out of place in the awards, right? I just came for Smash and Monster Hunter plus some small things, and then I was bombarded with shooter after shooter after zombie shooter. And again, it ties into Scott's whole thing was who's the audience, because we got some wild disconnect of what's actually being shown here. We got some cute little indie games, and then we go into the brutal zombie shooters, and I think like I said, they're trying to appeal to everybody, and because of that, I think everybody walked away with at least one thing they were like, I care about that. I think a lot of us were like, at the very least, we cared about Smash Brothers, you know, like at the very least. But then everything else, it was just, it goes so broad that it kind of, I feel like that's kind of the issue, where that's the thing. Video games being such a broad industry is amazing, but the problem is when you're trying to bring it all together, I feel like while I can really commend how you know, it's like Jeff Keighley is working his ass off, obviously, to like perform. Like clearly, obviously, like I respect the hell out of the fact that he's doing all of this, but I feel like they can kind of bring the gaming industry together and represent it better than they do. I like that the Game Awards is a lot classier than something like the Spike VGAs, even though it was still pretty funny. I like that because it does legitimize like the gaming industry. It does make it feel like, oh, this is kind of on par with the Oscars. This is kind of on par with the Emmys and whatnot. But I feel like they're still they still kind of need to hone in on exactly how to represent all of gaming a bit better.
Yeah, Ollie Waleed in the chat says, I loved that one acceptance speech where the woman was standing behind the window in the background. That's
already a meme.
I got it.
I think it's already
just like a meme template. As someone pointed out in the chat, that was a meme template.
I think right off the bat, it's like women in the game industry.
Wow.
You know what? I do want to say, though, I am really happy to have seen the Game Awards not only spotlight so many women and people of different races and you know, people of color in the Game Awards, developers, but also accessibility. The way they highlighted accessibility, like there is a lot of cringe in the Game Awards, and I definitely admit that. And my wife and I have made an annual event of like laughing through it and stuff. But it has gone a long way in the years it has been going on. And Jeff Keighley, though he may sometimes rub me the wrong way, I really respect what he's been able to turn the Game Awards into, and it is better than it was demonstrably. I would say it is demonstrably and objectively better.
Way better than the Spike VGAs.
4 or 5 years ago.
The VGX from 2013 or whatever it was, when it was just him and Joel McHale in a basement, kind of. That was pretty rad. No, they've definitely increased, but this year, you know, like I think they did the best with what they could, and I think it was fine. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. I was like, that was fine. I mean, I was exhausted, but for what it is, like, I wasn't going in there expecting things. Would you have preferred if they just never announced Smash Brothers was going to be a part of it?
It would have been a cool surprise. I'm honestly surprised. The biggest surprise is that they did Smash right away. I thought that was going to be towards the end.
I think the problem is, I think it would have been nice to kind of like make Smash kind of like later in the show, maybe space that out with Perfect Dark, because those are kind of the two that were like majorly interesting to me. Of course, like that's just me personally, so it's just like, I'm not expecting the show to be tailor made. But if I was my decision, I would have probably made like maybe I think Perfect Dark would have been a good thing to end on near around the end, or at least Smash, because I remember Joker was revealed near the end of the Game Awards it was a part of, and that just came out of nowhere. So it was just like, I think it would have made more sense to kind of put that near the end. They had a problem because like last year they had the Xbox Series X, and that was right at the beginning, and that was the biggest announcement they had. And it's just like after that, it was just like there's nothing. There's really nothing.
I kind of get it in one sense, because I imagine, right, like ever since we started this channel, I dig really deep into the analytics of all our videos, and viewer retention is a very real issue, like in terms of just keeping people watching. And so if you're trying to sell something, like, and you're partnering with somebody like Jeff and his loud blue shoes, you're probably wanting your announcement, to be at the top of the show, like before people start dropping off. And so I imagine that what happened this year is they were like, hey, it's 2020 and you don't have a ton of options, so you're going to put our thing right at the start, or we're not going to do it. And he probably didn't have as much freedom to position things as he probably does when he has a live audience. So I think that may have played into it. One thing I wanted to point out, a game that we skipped, was a Season, which was that that PS5 indie, which looked really, really cool. Like at first it kind of just had this real, I thought it was all just going to be, like cinematic CG stuff. And then they showed like little snippets of gameplay, and it looked way better than I could have possibly imagined. I'm really hyped for it.
That and Chia. I don't know if we talked about Chia
earlier,
did. But
a little bit.
Okay. I just a little bit. But yeah, that really stood out to me as well. And again, I'm really enjoying this proliferation of characters of color as protagonists in games. Like we saw this little black girl of color, or as the protagonist. And I love that. And I just love seeing more diversity trumpeted in games in general. And I just think that's fantastic personally.
By the way, I have to point this out. Jackson Denis in the chat out of nowhere said Scott is Spider-Man, Ash is Thor, Steve is Iron Man, and Derek is Star-Lord. I think he got you two. I guess so. And he said, just thought I'd share this. And I'm like, all right.
I mean, all those Disney announcements happened at the same time. So
I'll be Thor. My wife sometimes calls me Arctic Thunder. So I feel like that, sorry.
What
Nordic Thunder. So I'll
okay.
I was gonna say she named you after a Midway arcade game with an air conditioner built into it.
that wasn't meant to be anything TMI or nasty. I didn't mean in that sense. I just meant in general. I'm a big white guy. Like that's all it meant. Like, come on.
All right.
You're digging yourself into a deeper hole, Ash.
I guess I am. That sounded bad as I said it. Yeah, I know. I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So what did you?
That's not what I would say.
Sorry, real quick.
So what did you? Go.
Sorry, real quick. Michael with a $5 donation says gonna dip. Just wanted to send one last good vibe before disappearing into the void. Love all of the work you beautiful do. I think he might have typoed there. And good night. So good night, Michael. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for the $5 donation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Scott.
No, I was just wondering, like, what you guys thought of, like, just Game of the Year in general. Just
I haven't
played Last of Us Part 2, so, I mean, my personal Game of the Year is Final Fantasy VII Remake, but that's just me.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, I played the most of Animal Crossing out of all of those, but so that by default that would probably be my Game of the Year, but I don't know. I mean, like, Last of Us 2, I expected that. I already know what happens in it, so I'm like, I already know what happens, so I'm like, do I really want to spend 20 hours playing that? Because I already know what happens.
I don't.
But so. I don't know how upset people are, because a lot of people were upset with that game. I'm like, oh well, it's whatever. I feel like, I don't know, what would have you guys really wanted to win? Derek, you said like FF7.
Well, Final Fantasy VII is my personal, but I would not see it actually taking the win. Steve, when we were doing predictions, Steve brought up a very good point that Animal Crossing kind of defined the year and is probably the most deserving just as like this was 2020 for people. Last of Us, I don't see people talking beyond that, but beyond, Animal Crossing reached out beyond the gaming sphere and brought in way more people than the cinematic Last of Us ever did. It pulled in the gamers. So
I think with Last of Us, even though it pissed a lot of people off in terms of like its story, I feel like just the fact that it sparked that big of a conversation, and the fact that it was kind of divided, where it wasn't like everybody hated it. It was kind of like half. It was kind of like I don't even know, half and half. I just know like a good amount of people. It was a big debate for a year, the year. So it's just kind of like I feel like that's something to be said, where it's just like, oh, the fact that it could actually spark that kind of conversation. I feel like I think it makes sense for Game of the Year. I think Ghost of Tsushima was kind of like that. It obviously was like the fan favorite because it was the player's voice. Doom Eternal kind of felt like it just kind of went there because they needed another one. Not to say anything bad about Doom Eternal, but a lot of people just kind of forgot that game existed. Like it came out in March. There you go. It was. I think it would have been cool if Hades would have won, because it was kind of like when Celeste was nominated that one year. It was like, oh, the indie underdog. That's super cool that it got nominated.
Yeah, real quick. Zero Vits with I had to Google this, 125 Nicaraguan Ordoba donation.
Oh,
thanks. For making me break out Google for that one. But what games do you think got robbed? Definitive not being Xenoblade Definitive not being nominated when Royal is there, Ludicrous, the extra content and all the QOL stuff. We'll get to that in just a second. So I want to kind of expand on my thoughts on Game of the Year. I think Game of the Year, I would love to see it, because Game of the Year is like this weird nebulous term, right? Like, what the hell is a Game of the Year? Like, is it based on sales? Is it based on impact? Is it based on, bringing new gamers in? And I think it's real subjective, right? Like, there's no clear cut. You can't point at a game and go, yeah, that's the best one. I would love it to be more like a Times Person of the Year, where it's like, for good or for bad, this game made like a big splash that year.
Sure.
Right. Whatever the hell that means. And I think you could, if I look at it that way, I think you could really say The Last of Us Part 2 or Animal Crossing are really deserving in that respect. The Last of Us Part 2 pissed a lot of gamers off for whatever their reasons, right? I think a lot of people had real shitty reasons. But other people, there are legitimate gripes that one can have with the game. Like Scott said, some people will just look at it and be like, yeah, I kind of know what happens. It's 20 hours that I don't need to waste. And I think that's totally a valid way to look at it if if you're just in it for the story. For me, I think it was my personal Game of the Year. I liked it a lot. I loved it even. But like I said, I still don't know that I would call it over Animal Crossing, just because I think it appealed just to folks like me, and I don't think it reached far beyond that. But that's my personal definition, and I think it's going to change for everyone.
But man, if you look at Animal Crossing critically, you're just like, man, there are so many problems that are just like, God.
That's true too.
Like,
that's fair.
That's what makes Game of the Year so interesting, right? It's just your whatever Game of the Year means to you will vary from person to person. For me, it's what game made me feel the most of all the games I played of the year. And for me, that was FF7 Remake, like Derek. But I cannot argue. And I want to make it clear. Somebody was talking about how there were a lot of we were criticizing The Last of Us Part 2 a lot earlier. And I want to make it clear, I don't mean to take anything away from The Last of Us Part 2. It's a fantastic game. I love what I played of it. I'm a little more than halfway through it. I think it's great, and it deserves the win that it got. It's just that personally, FF7 Remake is my Game of the Year, and Animal Crossing, I think Steve made a fantastic point about how culturally Animal Crossing was the most important Game of the Year. But, Game of the Year, whatever that means to you, varies from person to person, and that's okay. And I don't want to take away anything from what Druckmann and his crew achieved with Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, I was just mainly, if they're referring to like when I was just kind of like, oh yeah, Last of Us 2 swept every category, so it just got kind of boring. I was just basically referring to the fact that like there was really no surprise then. It was like, there wasn't any variety kind of thing. I would have liked if like, best game direction, then like something else would have won. Just so then it's just like, that's interesting. That's cool to discuss. No, it was just all Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, I think they didn't even win
made the
best,
show.
like,
It made the show even more boring. Personally,
didn't it also win best art direction somehow? Like,
Yeah, it won.
what else was available for art? No. Ghost of Tsushima won.
Oh,
best
that's
art
right.
direction.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
It did.
Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah.
I was still a bit
Fair.
baffled.
I think Ori would have been a nice one to get that. But
Yes.
to
To go back to the earlier chat question about games we felt were snubbed, I've mentioned this in various discussions and such, but Paper Mario: The Origami King deserved better. It deserved more than to just be in Best Family Game. It should have been in Best Music.
I don't understand how it was in Best Family Game.
Insane.
I don't know why Mario Kart Live Home Circuit was in Best Family Game. Like, it's a toy.
Yeah. That just feels like
it's cute, but it's like, come on. There's so many.
King is genuinely a fantastic game despite its shortcomings, and I really, really, truly feel as though it was snubbed from at least being included in categories like Best Music and such. I still would have voted for 7 remakes, but
I think awards like that are very bizarre because it's like, oh, you have best family game or best action adventure, but then most is in you have all these random games, but then one of the games was nominated for game of the year. So it's just like, who do you think is what do you think is going to win that? You know, kind of thing. It's like when you have a random at the Oscars, there would be random times when it's just like, oh, an animated film would be nominated for best film, but it would also be nominated for best animated film alongside a bunch of other animated films. Why wouldn't that film win best animated film? You know, it got nominated for best film. There's no surprise there. So it's just it's just you look at something like best family game, and Animal Crossing is the only one there that got nominated for game of the year. Of course it's going to win best family game. Why wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
True. Yeah, I think to kind of rewind a bit and talk about the value of the Game Awards in general, one of the things that I find interesting is that you're right, Scott, that people seem not to care too much about the awards portion of this whole thing. And I think that's because of the fact that I think the key difference between something like the Oscars, which you were just talking about, and the Game Awards is that the Game Awards feels so much more marketing driven than other award shows in different spaces. You go to, you watch the Oscars or the Emmys or whatever for the awards, and it's very rare that they're so loaded down with obvious product placement.
They're there to a degree, but it also feels more like a celebration of the medium.
Yeah. It's very odd. I think Keighley is doing that's the thing. The only way you're going to get people to watch these things is with the reveals. That's just how it is. And because of that makes it so then people actually care about the Game Awards. And you see this dwindling interest in stuff like the Oscars and the Emmys over the years, where people just don't care anymore. If they care, they're gonna read the list the next day of who won. I feel like the problem with the nominees of the Game Awards is that there's so many repeats. You look at the Oscars, and then you have best film, but then you have best actress, best director, it's just these singular people, and barely, it's just certain movies are nominated multiple times in multiple categories, but it's way more up in the air of random who's gonna win. With the Game Awards, there's so many repeats. I'm looking down at this nominee list, and I'm constantly seeing under best game of the year, best game direction, best narrative, best art direction, you see Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Final Fantasy 7, Hades, stuff like that. And it's just it's just all nominated constantly, and I feel like that makes the awards kind of boring. And there's not as much of a incentive where it's just oh man, who's gonna win this, who's gonna win that.
Because you can get granular with the movies. You can say, oh man, this actress, I like this movie more, but this actress was amazing in this part and totally deserves it. And that's where you can sort of get that sort of who's gonna win aspect to it. It makes it,
which is just I feel like they might, I think it might be better to kind of focus on singular people or singular teams or something like that, or singular things with the nominees, where it's just oh, let's do best developer or best writer specifically instead of best narrative or something like that, or something along those lines. Because at the moment, best, I don't know, there's so many repeats. It just kind of feels I feel like that's also what kind of led the show to feel very boring, because it just felt just repeating the same thing over and over, because you constantly hear Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2, Hades, Doom Eternal, just nominated for everything. And it's just like, yeah, they deserve to be nominated for all those, but it's just like I just feel like the categories themselves could be tweaked a bit personally. Sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. It would be nice to see people in the industry recognized alongside the games they create, because you never get an award for a person usually.
Well, there was something a couple years back. I think they did like a like a legacy award or something. I remember like this woman who did oh my god,
King's Quest, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She got like a
Oh right.
Yeah, she got like a legacy award or something, or like, oh man, this is for being in the industry for so long or something. I think more of that is cool. I remember that specifically because I thought it was cool. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like the Game Awards to kind of focus on like the industry a little more like that. Instead, it feels like it still has a lot of that VGA DNA a bit in there with like all these advertisements. It's so marketing focused, and I get, because like that's how you get the funding and that's how you get people to watch. Because like I said, there are a lot of people watching. That's super impressive, but it kind of makes it so then I just don't take the award show that seriously. And of course, a problem this year is the fact that it wasn't as grandiose as it could possibly be. Next year, we can see about that, but. Right. You know, I feel like that just makes things more interesting. And
Kairudo brings up a good point. Is another thing they should do. I mean, granted, it might make it longer because of this, but they should try to justify some of the rewards for at least a minute or so, like play a track from the game with the best soundtrack, or a powerful story scene from a game with the best narrative, which they did do with the best accessibility. They got a little clip showing why these were so great for accessibility, and again. Oscars constantly show like a clip from a great piece of acting or stuff that they can do that sort of demonstration with and show what makes them so good. So showing why this, game might be worth that. That, but yeah,
I remember for the content creator of the year award, all you saw was like a 1-second clip of each one, and they all were going, "Oh!" or something like that.
Screaming.
That's literally it. And it's just like, okay, I know exactly why they're nominated. Wow, thank you. I know so exactly. Much. Wow, it's just like, and like half the time it's just like, for like, I don't know, they would show like best narrative and they just showed like gameplay of Hades. And I'm like, well, how was like I haven't played Hades yet.
Yeah.
That doesn't tell me anything. It just shows random gameplay
be fair,
from it. It's just like,
in defense of that clip, that's pretty much, in my experience, that seems to be the narrative of Hades. Just people talking while you do other shit.
It's talking to the other characters and learning more about the characters and their relationships and slowly doling out more.
I guess like so. That. I mean, honestly, now that I've played most of Hades, like, I just don't get it. I don't get why it was in Game of the Year category, but it's fun. It feels to me like if it existed in the late 90s, I would probably play it at an arcade and be like, that was pretty good, but I'm done now. I just don't feel like it's nearly as great as people think it is, but that's fine. Different opinions. Everyone's got one.
Right.
But,
indeed.
Also, Ethereal AH has been, I think it was the person in the chat's been saying this, really feeling that Yakuza Like a Dragon got snubbed for Game of the Year.
Yeah, that is a good one. Game of the Year, it should have been nominated. I feel like it should have taken Best RPG. Even though Final Fantasy VII Remake was debatable. In there, I feel like Yakuza Like a Dragon is sticks more to the roots of the genre. I feel like Final Fantasy VII gets dangerously close to action adventure territory.
I'm confused right now because I'm looking through the nominees and winners. So Among Us was nominated and won like Best Mobile Game and Best Multiplayer, but it wasn't nominated for Best Indie, which I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
that is also weird.
Yeah,
that's very strange.
The other weird thing is it did originally release in 2018.
That's the thing. But it already got nominated. It got nominated for mobile and Best Multiplayer. So I'm like, why wasn't it a part of Best Indie then? Because they were very adamant when it won twice. They were like, oh, it's a 3-person team. I'm like, it's an indie game, and it's, you don't care that it released in 2018. So it's weird that it wasn't nominated for Best Indie then.
Yeah,
I mean Hades won, so it's just like.
The Game Awards, though, they're wildly inconsistent with their application of rules and even what awards they offer.
2017, Game of the Year.
Yep. Well, like, what did Kojima in 2016 got an Industry Icon Award. And I think that's the only time they ever gave an award like that out to anybody.
No, it's that developer, that King's Quest. Yeah,
Oh,
she got one too.
But I think that's
and
it.
they might have done one more, but that was about it. Yeah.
How do you have an award like that Miyamoto doesn't have? That's
I'm
weird.
saying, why don't you have Miyamoto to give out Game of the Year?
Because he
Miyamoto,
doesn't care.
Kojima, something like that. They could have him over Skype or something. I don't know if he knows what Skype is. I don't know. I don't know, but
Gaming's lovable grandpa
whatever.
at this point.
Yeah, but there's like so many other people that they could have like had. I like they also barely had any like people from the industry itself give out awards or represented in any way. It was mostly like
Celebrities.
Why
the
did
closest
Gal
I think we
Gadot
got
have-
was Troy
why was
Baker
she
and Nolan
there?
North.
Yeah, I mean they deserve to be there, but it's also like Brie Larson. Yeah, she does enjoy games, but to me that's also like as if like Reggie showed up to the Oscars. It's just like I enjoy movies. So I'm going to present this award. It's a little weird. Where I'm just
Reggie.
like, if she appeared in a game, which I'm not sure if she did. But it's also like something like that, or like Gal Gadot and something where she was just like, hey, I'm so honored to be presenting at the Game Awards. There you go, and that's it. And I just feel like I would like to see more people from. You can have the celebrities, that's fine, but it kind of felt like all they had were the celebrities, and they didn't bring a spotlight to just other like major developers. Like, why not have developers or major industry people present awards or just present speeches or something like that? It was just I don't know, a little weird.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I hate to be that guy, but we have been streaming for almost 5 hours straight. So
yeah,
it might be a good time
definitely.
to start wrapping it up.
Definitely. Yeah. I think we've kind of exhausted this sort of topic because it's the same sort of complaints that we have for Game Awards every year. Although I will say I feel like this show was better than last year's.
Yeah.
I would say so. I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
It's tiring though. I swear every time after the Game Awards I'm exhausted, and even though I just sat on the couch the entire time.
Yeah.
Right.
It really is like
exhausted.
I think if I hadn't been covering this, I probably would have just fallen asleep. Which is,
I probably would have turned it off if I was like,
after Sephiroth and Smash, yeah.
After like an hour and a half or so, I probably would have been like, I don't really know if there's much else here that I really care about personally, but there's some good stuff. But I just feel like pacing and just the overall like who the audience is and what they're trying to accomplish can be a bit muddy sometimes.
Right. We got a $2 donation from Pocket Ciabatta. I love that name. Who says no Mother 3 from Reggie, R.I.P. Yeah, I think the Reggie.
I think Mother 3 is dead.
Yeah, unfortunately. I hope not, but I kind of think so.
You never
also,
know.
Juanfe Bejarano, I think it says the Game Awards are like a toxic relationship. They hurt me, and I just keep coming back.
Oh God!
Wow. Okay.
Oh man,
that's where we end.
Right. You got a Smash Brothers reveal this year.
Exactly.
I
don't feel like I was hurt by the game.
And that's what everybody wanted last year, and they didn't get it.
No,
but they got it this year, and then they got nothing else from Nintendo.
Exactly.
But you got it.
Well, we'll see what happens. I feel like we'll get good stuff from Nintendo next year. I'm okay with how this played out. Sephiroth was mind blowing. Like I just didn't expect.
Yeah, we'll see how Sephiroth actually plays in a week.
Yeah, and we'll be live. We'll be streaming our reactions to that too. By the way, the Sakurai presents Sephiroth and Smash. So join us for that if you'd like. We'd love to have you along for the ride.
Yeah, don't expect me to be as excited about that. So I'm not going to lose my mind at every move. Yeah. So I would ask where people can find you, but they're literally here to watch you, Scott. So, but what is it? Just youtube.com/ScottTheWaz?
Mm-hmm.
And then your Twitter is the same, right?
Yeah.
All right. I gotta ask you one thing.
I think us East Coast boys need to get some sleep, right, Scott?
Probably.
Yeah. Like I said, around 8:30, I was like, "Wow, I'm sleepy." Probably because I was watching.
Yeah.
Or I'll try to get more work done or something like that.
No, I'm going to bed.
I'll try to do something. Either way, sleeping or getting work done will be productive in my book.
There we go. So well, that about wraps it up for us tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us for an absurd number of hours.
Still 530 people watching.
People are insane.
the power of Scott the Woz is real tonight. So
Indeed.
Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us, Scott. As always, dude, you're welcome anytime you want to come on the channel for any reason. Especially,
thank you.
We were joking just the other day about you doing your silent E3 segments for us whenever the hell E3 happens again.
Yeah, well, I'm excited about it. I only want to do E3 with an unplugged microphone. That is specifically only how I want to do that.
We will make that happen for you, my friend.
We'll accommodate that.
Yeah. So that's it for us tonight. If you're not a patron of ours, you can go over to patreon.com/gvgaming, where you can choose to support us $1, $5, $10, $25, whatever you want. We don't, we're not picky. We love you either way. Or if you just want to subscribe, or even just, come over and hang out sometimes, whatever you want to do, we appreciate you all the same. With that, I am going to sign off. Good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you again.